What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 279 of the Center Ring Esports Podcast presented by Alt. And you guessed it, this is going to be the best episode ever. It is Monday. We have Yikes of the Week, everyone's favorite segment. The Overwatch League finals happened, so we will dive into those a little bit and give our impressions on what was forgettable. Memorable? Well, let's find out. Let's discuss Overwatch League season and what to look forward to next year. And ESL 1 New York EU started and finished over the weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Hashtag phase up. And of course, e-news to get to. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show sponsor, as in altesports.com, ULT, as in the number one esports apparel company out there. The comfiest clothes money can buy. Official partners of the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League. And us, E-United, just recently announced they signed their first pro player to the team as well with our cities. So you'll soon find his collection on altesports.com. They've actually started every Friday on Instagram, which you can find, just look up Alt on Instagram. You will find it every Friday, 2 p.m. Central. Figure that out for your own time. They do an Instagram Live. Nate, friend of the show, founder of the brand, will kind of give you a little behind-the-scenes look and describe some of the look and styles of their clothes and give you a little background story. Also, gives you a discount code. Last Friday, you could have gotten 25% off anything, including the 101 Burglars hoodie. So this Friday, your boys will be on there. So make sure you follow them on Instagram and catch Anuj and I live as we talk the story behind 101 Burglars and maybe tease what's coming up. So all that, altesports.com. Tell them the Center Ring sent you.
This is Super. You're listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by Alt. This is episode 279, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, October 11th, 2020, 11 days into Spooktober. The time, 8:57 p.m. Central Time. What a show. What a show we have for you today. Don't let me undersell it. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. And feel free to join our Discord and be a part of that conversation as well. Talk about recent episodes, talk about news dropping, looking for a group of guys to play any game with. I mean, it's a variety. Look, I know we're heavy on the FPS, but that doesn't mean our listeners are. We got a lot of League of Legends fans in there looking to play. Whatever you're interested in, I promise you. There's people in there similar interest as yourself. So join the Discord and say what's up. Love to chat. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
Timmy, it's a great day. Actually, it's not. Like, my quarterback is out for the season. Like, surgery right now happening live during the show. I tried to get them to Instagram live it. They turned it down, unfortunately, but I thought it was a great opportunity to create some unique content.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, tough day, tough Sunday. Like, losing my quarterback, that's kind of rough.
But
We've
you
seen
won.
how that's gone before.
The Cowboys won.
We beat the worst team in the league. Maybe behind the Jets, we just beat the worst team in the league. They're 0-5. We should have won.
Yeah. Lions
How
had a
many
bye week.
successful redhead NFL players can you tell me right now off the top of your head?
Well, Andy Dalton's not successful, right?
No, he's the comparison, so I need another one that if you're gonna count him.
I mean, the list is slim.
Makes me nervous.
Just say successful redheads. Name
Look, there's not
Ronald
many,
McDonald.
there-
He's
there-
pretty successful.
If our quarterback was Indian, I'd be just saying the same thing. Not racist towards redheads. Just saying chances are slim that we make a Super Bowl push now.
No, Lions had a bye week, so that's a victory.
That's a win.
That's
That's
a
a
victory
win.
in my book. Victory in my book. No, but my bets were on fire. Again, don't ask me about college football. I don't want to talk about my college football bets because they are terrible. But NFL, I'll get you places in the NFL. I can get you places. College, not so much, but NFL is not bad.
If you're playing DraftKings or Thrive or something like that, just take any receivers that are playing the Cowboys. Usually they're all going to come up around 100 yards plus a touchdown here and there.
You know, so speaking of normal sports, I was flipping through at some point today, the TV and looking at the guide, and I saw on ESPN2, the guide said esports. And I was like, well, that's very ambiguous. What does this mean? I figured it was like an Overwatch League replay or something. You know how they'll do that sometimes? Or Rocket League. I click on it. They're talking about FIFA.
That's tough.
And I like immediately turned the channel.
So we're doing Yikes right now, you're saying?
I'm like, yeah, I guess that's esports. I guess. Trying to explain.
Like, it is, but it's not. If I'm making a TV network, that's not what I'm talking about. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Because you're not going to bring in normal soccer fans to watch that. That's not how esports works, right? Like,
No.
NFL fans don't all just love Madden naturally or play it at least.
Trying to explain to non-esports people, as someone who worked in traditional sports, right? I worked in sports radio for 7+ years. Trying to explain to a traditional sports guy why FIFA or Madden or any of games like that aren't really esports. Like, yes, by definition, I guess you're right. They are esports, but they're not esports. Like, we're not talking about them on this podcast. It's difficult. They don't really understand because they're like, yeah, but it's video games. Yeah, but it's not the same.
Anytime somebody asks me about the podcast that I know knows nothing about esports, I always have to clarify when I go, yeah, we talk about like competitive gaming. You know, I say that first, and then it's like, oh, like football games and all that. You know, I was like, no, like.
Oh, so you guys talk about Mavs gaming?
I was like,
no.
You're to Counter-Strike, Call of Duty. You know, everyone knows Call of Duty, so that's always a name I'll throw out there because I know everybody at least, knows what Call of Duty is. I feel at this point. So that's all. I was like, things like Call of Duty and stuff. They have leagues that we follow. But yeah, you're right. Like, you talk to somebody and they'll automatically think, oh, we cover sports.
Yeah, talk about Madden stuff. No, it's not really the same. There is a niche there. I get that there are people who are really into it, but majority of the people who are into esports are not into traditional esports, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like everybody right now is watching LeBron James win his 4th ring, right? They're not tuning in to see, those same people are not tuning in to see who's winning NBA 2K League next year.
No.
Like
maybe a fraction.
Very small.
So yeah, that's always a trip. That's always a trip to explain. Let's get into some yikes of the week though, since we did start a tad early. I'll go with mine because it's been locked and loaded for some time now. It was actually before last episode. I was like, no. This is my yikes. I got to hold on to it. So the Counter-Strike professional, could you turn me down in your headphones, deaf man?
Always.
I could just hear myself coming through your mic because you're deaf.
That's like 45%.
Yeah, but you are so... It's either your mic sensitive or your ears are deaf, which you are deaf. Your headphones are always...
jacked up.
So loud.
Hey, it helped you yesterday when the guy was on cat.
It's very true. When people are yelling at me that they're right next to me and I don't hear them, At least you were helpful backseat gaming, as opposed to the other guy on our team in Valorant who just kept saying, push up, push up, push up, push up,
Go, go, go,
push
go,
up,
go.
push up, go, 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 go. It's like, bro, I'm about to mute your ass. All right? Stop being a backseat gamer. No one appreciates it. But I digress. So my yikes of the week here comes from the Counter-Strike Professional Players Association. As we all know, they announced, maybe a month or so ago, they came out with their own players ranking. And everyone kind of chuckled. In fact, it might have been on Yikes of the Week the first time they announced it. And then it didn't come out the next time, the next cycle, which I don't know if it's on a monthly or whatever they're even doing. But it didn't come out the second cycle. And they said, maybe not perfect. We got to tweak a few things. Just turn a few knobs, figure something out here, okay? It's not right. It's not right. And that's basically because the rumor got out that, like, hey, this really wasn't something they wanted. Some teams who with a lot of power wanted this player ranking. Well, Nuge, I think we know at least one team that had power in it. As they released their next set of rankings, and their number one team in the world is Furia.
Yeah, it's like just laughable the way that's done, because we know the rankings are like skewed.
Do you
You
think
know,
the
like,
Brazilian
it's just,
teams have a lot of sway?
I think that, you know what? I'm surprised we didn't see MIBR at number 2, and they have like one active player, and no coach. And so, yeah, I mean, it just, you look at them and automatically you just think to yourself, like, thank God we have HLTV. That's what I say to myself, because we know there's at least some consistency, right? Like, I don't question HLTV's rankings. Even when
Right.
Big was at number 1, we know that we didn't feel like they could beat every team in that sense, but like they earned it during that stretch of
Right.
play, right? And
Right.
it's like with this, you look at it and you're like, okay, Furia 1, Heroic 5 after what they've like done recently, like there's just some questionable picks on here for sure.
And here's my thing. Their reasoning for Furia was because of consistency and level of play. It is a hard pill for me to swallow, man, to put any NA team number 1 in the world at this moment in time. When all they're playing is other NA talent, the only like top ranked teams that you could maybe say is Furia, Evil Geniuses, sometimes Liquid, sometimes, right? Like, you're not playing against the same talent. Furia has to play what's that streaming team, Mythic, right? Like that, they get to play them, as EU has to go through like a gauntlet of top 15, top 10 teams. Furia is playing teams out of the top 20. You're going to put them in number 1? What?
Playing Team 1, Mythic,
Like,
Triumph without Grim,
give
I
me
mean,
a
like, even
break.
EG had recently a number 1 ranking, I believe, on HLTV, like not that long ago, but they were consistently at least winning at that point. Again, you just look at it and you're like, okay, there's somebody else wielding the stick, right? Like, I don't see the business heads making this decision, right?
No.
Not the analytics guy that's running their
No.
ranking system.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And Anuj, you have a twofer.
I do have a twofer. I'm going to keep the first one in Counter-Strike. We'll just keep the theme going
All
here.
right.
But recently, Astralis announced that Zipnix will be returning to the starting lineup, which I think is fantastic news, right? Even though they just are coming off a win. Exciting to see Zipnix back in the fold. And
funny that we just were talking about it last episode too. Like, man, just imagine when Zipnix gets back. Like, what are they going to do, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's obvious he was listening along with everybody else. Like, he was listening, and he was like, look,
he was
we
listening.
need to make a return.
He saw them winning and like, oh shit, I got to get back in there. I can't.
Like, I feel fine. Whenever was hurting before, it feels better today. I'm ready to go. I don't want them to win too many tournaments without me there, right? So Zipnix is returning, as Tim mentioned, at a unique time because they're coming off of a win. They've been playing well. S-Tag has kind of found his role recently with the team. And so, look, announcement comes out. Sure, everybody's excited. How excited? I don't know. You had the whole Astralis team start tweeting out, like, welcome back, Zipnix. Like, so happy to have you back, whatever, they were writing, just things along those lines. Device accidentally left his name at the top of his tweet. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it basically said, like Device's name and then the tweet underneath it, as if he just copied and pasted it from some sort of Google Share or Excel sheet that they had their tweets pre-written out on. Now, Tim, the reason this is a yikes is it's funny. It's just funny because then Glaive became part of it. He tweeted it out by putting his name on top because they knew, hey, we got caught, right? Like we
Right.
got caught doing this. Now, is it a yikes in the sense that I don't think this happens? I think you and I talked about this briefly. I know teams give their players stuff to tweet. I know that. Like
Yeah.
it happens all the time.
That's
It's not
part
an
of the
uncommon
job.
thing.
Part of the
Um,
job. I wouldn't be surprised if the team has their PR guy who has access to their Twitters to do tweets. It could have been the PR guy who accidentally copied in that in. Like it's what happens. It's what happens when you're a professional athlete and all that. Like you think all these guys, you think Point in Case talking about LeBron James actually tweets out all of his tweets. Like no. He's got people to tweet for him.
Kevin Durant over here accidentally not doing it on his proper account,
Right.
like sitting on his wrong burner account there. No, yeah, like definitely. It happens all the time though. People have PR people for a reason, right? Like teams have PR people for a reason to help out with this type of stuff. Just funny, left it at the top, takes away from the sentiment a little bit, knowing that those were his own words. Like he genuinely could have probably put something together himself versus relying on a PR guy
Copy,
for all
paste.
5 of them. Like that, now my only question is like how excited are they for him coming back, right? if they're not willing to write something on their own and rely on the PR guy to do that, like how excited are they for
I'm sure
Zip Mix
they're.
running the
I'm
lineup?
sure they're happy. They got the gang back together. They're probably, you know what? They're probably even more ecstatic that it worked out with the 7-man roster, because now if they do need a break or if things weren't working out, now they can bring in someone and not be like,
the
oh
org
no.
feels good about that in the sense of like
Yeah.
the business side, right? I don't know if the players necessarily like Device is not looking over his shoulder, right? Glaive does not have to probably look over his shoulder on that team. Everybody else, though, if you have a steady decline over an extended, I don't want to say extended as in like a year or something, but like 3-4 months go by and things are not going well, like they might be a little bit more inclined to make a change now. So if I was a player, I would be a little bit more like, oh shit, this worked. Like, so if I start sucking, they got a guy on the bench right now that they know that can come in and win for them. So as a player, you're probably looking over your shoulder a little bit more unless you're just a couple of them,
Yeah. I mean, it's different for everyone on the roster, but I think overall, at least from look, Astralis, for all the shit people have given them, they've at least been able to come back, right? Like normally it's like, oh, you're going with the 7-man roster, it won't work. Well, it did work. Oh, well, now you're out of the top 10. Like Astralis is falling. Oh, well, now you're back to like top 5. Like they're.
It's unique with them because it's just like they've been at the top for in a sense, fighting for the top for so long. Usually, when we see a fall off, they kind of fade out, right? Like what you saw with the MIBRs,
FaZe,
or changes be made with
Fnatic,
even
Fnatic for a long time.
Yeah, like Fnatic had to rebuild and kind of bring back a lot of that roster, but like they had that dull period there. Like you actually saw them fall off. We really haven't seen that with the Astralis, even during some of their toughest times. Like they just don't vanish, and they're not going anywhere. They're ranked number 2 right now, and they're going to float around there. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. So for my other yikes, Timmy, this one's more of a true yikes. Okay, this one belongs in the yikes category for sure. Amazon Games has recently announced that they've stopped all development for Crucible. Wait, what's Crucible, you ask? Let me tell you. It is their 5v5, I think, or maybe 6v6 competitive shooter that they made. It was supposed to become an esport, I guess you could say. That was the vision for the game. Didn't start off well, didn't last long, didn't end well. And for Amazon Games, this is just another checkbox, that lets you know they don't really know what they're doing yet on the game studio side, right? They had that other game, what was it? I'm drawing a blank.
The RPG.
I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Breakaway. Breakaway was another Amazon Game Studio game that didn't even really get a proper launch.
I don't even know what that one is.
They have their MMO that's currently out, which World something, New World, I think is what it is. Yeah, it's New World. And that's also just tanking. People have quit playing that. Go look at the streaming numbers. They've dipped significantly since week one. And that game had multiple delays. So this is more of a yikes for Amazon Game Studios. And look, if you're asking me, well, why does it matter? Well, they are developing like some big titles coming up in the sense of like they were entrusted to put out a good game. And I think Lord of the Rings MMO is one of them, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and so they have some things that, ultimately you need them to do well because they have a lot of money, right? To be able to push the right people into those roles. But another fail for them, and it's looking tough because they haven't had any sort of success in the gaming side at all, other than Twitch. Twitch is the only good investment that it seems like they've made in gaming. But when it comes to game development, their studio is highly underperformed.
All while also saying that they're releasing their own gaming streaming platform. Like, they are putting a lot of money into the gaming side for ultimately being really bad at it. Even on the Twitch side, let's be real. They got into Twitch when Twitch was already doing perfectly fine. It's not like Amazon hasn't done a whole lot other than maybe Twitch Prime.
Twitch Prime has probably been like huge for the creators, right?
Right.
For the streamers, that's been like a really cool thing. But in terms of like growth for or Twitch, in the sense of like, have they changed anything? Outside of Twitch Prime, probably not.
No.
Doesn't feel like it at least.
Stay hard, Amazon Gaming. Stay hard. All right, let's get into the Overwatch League finals, because history was made, ladies and gentlemen. And no, I'm not talking about the back-to-back victories for the Shock. I'm talking for the first time ever, a Nuge was actually watching Overwatch when I wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm dedicated to the show, Tim. Like, I'll do whatever it takes for the listeners to let them know I put in some effort for them. And yeah, look, my son wakes me up pretty early in the morning. I take that morning shift for us, so I'm up around 6 o'clock on the regular. And so yeah, I woke up, threw the stream on, and look, I don't know what this means in the long run necessarily, but I had an enjoyable viewing experience. Like, I like the meta that's currently in play right now. I got to see, a lot of Ashe. We got to see Widow, like characters that I kind of enjoy watching their play style a little bit more. Makes for some more exciting gameplay. But yeah, I had an enjoyable viewing experience. I only watched the finals. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be upfront with. It's not like I watched the rest of the playoffs and could tell you, how that was, other than the standings and how teams performed. But yeah, I enjoyed the game. Like, I didn't think it was bad to watch.
I caught the last map and I went back to watch the VODs. So funny story is, I had my alarm set. So I normally wake up super early on Sundays, which I guess in my brain I thought the game was going to be on Sunday, not Saturday. But I normally wake up early on Sundays anyway so I can watch F1 racing. And then so I had my alarm set. It went off Saturday morning. And I was like, why is my alarm going off? And I turned it off and went back to sleep. And I woke up at like 8, which is still pretty early, I guess, on a Saturday. And then I saw your message talking about Overwatch. And I was like, oh, that's why my alarm was set.
That's today.
So I woke up, saw the last map, and I'm with you. I had the playoffs on in the background, but it wasn't. And that's like been the theme, right? I feel like for a lot of people, not just us, all year with the Overwatch League, it's just kind of been there, which we'll get to in a minute. I do want to talk about our thoughts on Overwatch and moving forward with the league, but let's give credit where credit is due. So in the finals, like you said, it was an enjoy. Look, for all the issues that I have with Overwatch and Overwatch League, they know how to put on a finals. From, I was there in New York. We both were there in Philly last year. They know how to put on a finals. And even here with the circumstances, like they had the digital stage, they had their casters, which I like what you said, like asking why they all look like they're straight out of Hunger Games, which I went back and looked, and yeah, their fashion is unique. I don't, you know.
They look like they're characters in Overwatch. Like if they were watching an Overwatch game live, I feel like that's what they would be wearing.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. But I thought it was like you said, a good performance. I feel for Seoul, I do, because they've been a team that's been a favorite going into every season so far. They've never really been able to perform. They finally got to the finals for the first time, and you're down. It's map 6, Hollywood. It's a payload map or hybrid, but payload portion. I know the feeling. Everyone, if you've ever played, not even just Overwatch, but a payload style map, and if you stop the other team from getting to the end, and then you're going on attack next, it's like having the lead at halftime. Like, you really feel like the game is in your hands to extend this to a map 7. And the Shock dominate. They didn't even get through the city street portion, whatever you want to call that, the second phase of Hollywood. They shut them down. So I feel for Seoul. They showed them afterwards, the players crying when they lost, and I was like, damn, we've been there. Like, everyone's been like that feeling of like, holy shit, we had that win. And
yeah, and like momentum turned so quickly in that, finals twice, really, right? Because you had the Shock come out and take a commanding 2-0 lead, and you kind of looked at it at that point, and you were like, here we go. Like, this is another 4-0 finals we're about to see here. Shock looked really dominant. And then as it goes into the third map, which I believe, if I remember them saying it on the broadcast or somewhere, that the Shock had a 18-game winning streak on that map going into that third game. And for Seoul to come out and take 2 in a row, bring it back, you saw the momentum shift, quickly over to them, and you thought maybe they could just pull this off just for them to get, lose the next 2. Prophet, to me, was so much fun to watch. Like, watching him on Ash was like awesome. Like, I thought he was really exciting. I like that they put the camera on him quite a bit, and it kept you super engaged. Obviously, Striker playing on Tracer was also like, it was a joy to watch some of these guys. Like, you could really it was just different than like kind of Overwatch has been for the last year and a half. Like, I don't feel like I've had that type of viewing experience. I feel like it's been more of a like shit show, just a cluster of things happening, and you're just like looking at everybody's ult meter to see when it's up, and you're like, okay, like shit's about to go down like right now.
Yeah.
This felt a little bit different. It was nice to see what was it, Pharaoh come out, at one point, or Farah come out, like I thought that was it was cool the way that I thought she was used in that map. And so yeah, I thought it just played a little bit different in this meta, and it made it more enjoyable as a viewer.
So let me throw something at you. Let me throw you something out at you, Anuj, then that you didn't even realize why it might have been more enjoyable on a subconscious level. So obviously going into it, everyone knew this was San Francisco's back-to-back, first time ever going back-to-back to the finals. The COVID storylines everywhere, right? Everyone's had to deal with this. And then the fact that the Shock also lost Sinatra 2 months into the season, give or take. Not only their best player, but the league's MVP, the league's best player, the face of the Overwatch League, decided to leave the team, which from an outsider's perspective, with very little warning. Like, it was very just like, yo, I'm done. See ya. I'm going to
there was no lead up to that.
There wasn't like, hey, I'm going to finish out the stage. I'm going to finish out midway. And then, no, I'm done. I'm out. And then they still were able to come back and win, come first time back-to-back champions, and finish season 3 off as winners with Striker as MVP. What if I told you it was the storylines for the finals that also got you a little bit more excited? The fact that we actually knew a little bit more about what was at stake and what these teams used to get here, as in storylines, as in through the regular season, the only storyline was, man, this has been a cluster F all year. I can't believe I'm watching another format tournament with different, meta and heroes. And wait, what heroes were banned this week? And wait, are they even doing bans anymore? And now you have like team. Oh wait, this team was playing for the NA side, but now they went back to Korea. Like what is going on here? I think the stability of the playoffs, albeit only 6 teams, right? Albeit only 6, I think was enough to get people a little bit more excited in the sense of you knew what storylines were following and you had that build up to get into the finals. Which brings me to my point, is something that the Overwatch League has to focus on for next year.
Yeah, like they don't have many. They didn't have positive storylines this year.
None.
You know, even like the Sinatra storyline, it's not a positive. It's just like a storyline,
All their
right?
storylines were like redemption stories, which is nice, but that also means something bad happened for you to redeem yourself of.
Yeah, like Shanghai was like a good storyline in the sense that they were so bad previously, but like we really weren't watching because they weren't here like regionally. It just wasn't convenient to watch. So that was kind of um a distant thought. You know, I really honestly Sinatra really didn't cross my mind while I was watching the finals, if we're just being frank. Like I didn't um sit there and think, oh man, like they're doing this without him, or what would this be like if they had him? You know, like that stuff really wasn't going through my mind. It was more just like I didn't I was focused on what am I watching? Like, do I like this product? Right?
Right.
Like, is this a product I believe in going forward? And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But yeah, you're right. You're so right. Like, they need to make this about the storylines, like about the players. Unfortunately, the player base for this game is not the most vocal, right? There's a couple that stand out on Twitter that you see, you know, tweet often or whatever, they're active on Instagram or whatever socials they're on, you know. But there's not a lot of content coming out, right? Like I don't see NRG make it. NRG is like a content org now with Hex, right? And even they don't put out like a ton of content around the Shock, and they have like now they have the back-to-back champion, and it's um something that they need to focus on more, I believe. You know, if you really want to believe in this product long term, they have to do more. I believe on the content side, and then making storylines outside of people have left, the game is trash, the meta is garbage. Like they need help from Blizzard to be able to do that, right? Like Blizzard
Yeah.
has to put out a good product first and foremost.
Yeah, and I know some people, and we've said it on the show too, where it's like, man, they just need Overwatch 2 to come out to like kind of kickstart it up again. I agree that it will help with kicking it back up. Like you can just kind of breathe new life into it. But at the end of the day, Anuj, we've both got to play Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon. It is Overwatch. Like it's not going to change the game to the point where if you didn't like Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2 is not going to change your mind, right? Like it's not. It is what it is. There's a reason that you don't even have to buy Overwatch 2 if you want to just play multiplayer.
It's a graphical upgrade.
Yeah. Graphical upgrade, new maps, new play mode, but nothing from
You can recognize the players.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be the same. I think what you said is it's going to be up to the league to where I need consistency. I need to have the same format all the way through. And I don't hate the split regions. If they want to continue doing that while COVID is still around or even post COVID, I don't hate the split Asia and, NA
Works
side.
for League of Legends.
Works for League, and I think it does. It kind of had that same League of Legends vibe where it was us versus them, right?
Yep,
You had that
for sure.
NA versus an Asian team in the finals, and it kind of got you a little excited. Like
Yeah,
you
100%
had,
agree.
like regardless if you were a Shock fan, right? Maybe you live in New York and you hate Shock, right? Maybe you're Philly and you hate Shock, whatever. In the finals, though, they were the NA team. They were the team that you probably rooted for because it's like, hell no, this is this is the NA bracket side, right? This is the team
We
I
want to
win.
show that we are better than you,
Right.
ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Whether we as a region, a team, whoever, it's still we, right? It's
Yeah.
us versus them. You're right.
Especially
And
the Koreans in Overwatch who have just dominated for so long. And
no,
although I get it, there are a lot of Koreans on every team, like even Shock are majority Koreans. That's not the point. Okay?
it's not the point. It's
Not
just
the
the
point.
the flag that you're representing is all
Yes.
that matters here, right? Um, yeah, I actually like the region stuff too. Maybe it saves them money in a way if they're able to do
Yeah.
that, properly. Like, you're not having to house all these guys over here if they truly want to live at home anyway. So maybe not the worst way to go. I agree that would be a cool change. I think finding a meta that is sustainable for a longer period of time and not focusing on constantly changing it, right? Just to make things different. Like find something that works, that's good for the viewers, it's good for the players, and just kind of let it sit for a little bit, right? We can't have these constant like having to beg for changes for the game to be where you want it to be. The character ban stuff, like get all that sorted out, stick with it, run it through the season because every time you make a change, it's a negative vibe to the overall community and people outside of the community. Overwatch
Yeah.
2 is not, you're right, it's not going to save this game.
It's not. And
Okay,
they hopefully they don't think it, right? Like you have a new commissioner in there. Hopefully she's going to bring a fresh set of eyes in there and say, guys, the issue is not the game. The game is still, decent popularity with player base and things like that. The viewer count for the finals, albeit pretty low as far as viewers, it was around, I think, peaked around 183,000. Not the best. Maybe, if you wanted to put some silver lining on it, the time sucked. As we said, it was super early in the morning here on stateside, so maybe you could chalk it up to it. Last year, it was almost 500,000, so, that doesn't look
plus
good.
another 300K on TV.
Yeah.
And if you count Twitch's other regions, it was over 1 million last year, right?
So, was the move to YouTube the best for Overwatch? No. I guess if you're just looking at the numbers, sure, whatever. But I don't think that's like the kiss of death for the league. I do think, though, you just have to kind of look at it and be like, all right, what were people's... You almost wish they took like a survey, right? And said, what was it about this league? Like, I hope they're self-aware, right? I hope the league is self-aware, realizing like this year was not good. If you had to give yourself a grade, Overwatch League, this year, what would it be? Because,
Like D.
I mean, yeah, it's not passing.
Like a D, F, like somewhere right around, like we could say D.
I'll give you a
Like
D because COVID, and you
But
played
yeah,
it off.
they found a way to do LAN at the end. Like
Right.
that's kind of cool, right? Like that's something that other esports are still trying to figure out, and they did it what seems to be successfully. I guess we'll see if anyone comes back positive or something like that. But overall, it seems like that was successful. But yeah, as a whole, yeah, D probably feels like a comfortable grade. I think that what Overwatch, its owners, the league kind of needs to realize is, okay, if I'm a owner, like we got shafted a little bit here. Like we overpaid. It oversold. We bought in. They were incredibly excited for the word franchising in esports. But they got sold, right? Like ultimately is what happened. Now you need to understand what your game is and where it's at. You can't keep comparing it to, unfortunately, it will be compared to, but if you're going to keep comparing it to like, hey, these teams are worth 20 to 25 million like per slot, the game's going to look like a failure regardless of what happens here because it's not going to be able to live up to that hype of where it was at end of 2018, 2019 early, I guess you could say, even prior to that as the game was growing. The game's like going to be on a steady decline most likely from here on out. I don't think it'll be irrelevant. It's just if we're trying to compare it to a proper tier 1 esport, that time is kind of come and gone now for Overwatch. They had their little run. They were a tier 1 esport like 2017, 2018. But other games have come out. Other games have caught up. It doesn't feel as unique anymore. It's just,
and that's all natural. Like I don't think that's anything that the game necessarily did. It's just a natural way of gaming.
Yeah, like the only thing that they didn't do maybe is like evolve properly from
a meta standpoint. The patches were there was a stretch there where it was like, it seemed every Tuesday there was some little balance update that just completely shifted everything. At the start of this season, just for Overwatch League, how many formats and things did we see change from like, okay, the first day we're going to do this style, and then next in a month we're going to start doing hero bands. Oh, well, we're going to take this away. Well, now it's going to reflect what you do in game. It's just like I can't keep up with this. Like, this is a joke.
Look, we made our esports tier ranking not too long ago, and I couldn't tell you exactly where I had them. Then if
I think they were
if you remember,
C.
great.
They were
But
in the middle.
I was gonna say like there's still gonna be like a C tier when it comes to like a tier 2, tier 3 esport ultimately. Like it's not going to compete with your Counter Strikes, your Valorants, your League of Legends, your Call of Duties. Like those are a notch ahead. Like the Call of Duty stood the test of time for 16 years. So regardless of what the viewership is, we know 100 million people are playing that freaking game every time it comes out, and enough of them are interested in the league side um, to always make that game like do well. Counter Strike, same thing. 20 plus years proving it. League of Legends, 10 plus years kind of proving it. It's not one of those games. Like it's just not, and it doesn't need to be. As long as they kind of understand their place, then I think it'll be okay. But if they keep getting compared to the big dogs, which unfortunately because of the buy-in price is going to be the case, it's always going to look a little bit like a failure going forward. I just have a really tough time believing, Tim, that they can turn this around. I don't know what they could do to all of a sudden rejuvenate the player base and bring back players, right? Like they can retain probably what they have now.
So this is what I was saying. This is what I was thinking is what you got to go like from a step-by-step basis, and we can move on to ESL here in a little bit. But number one priority for them is retaining their player base, retaining who is still playing. Because don't get me wrong, Overwatch, for all intents, like from our point of view, has been dead. But the game still has its crazy dedication player base. Like I still have friends that play it every single day. It's like more power.
Overwatch 2 will be enough to keep the player base.
Right.
It'll also bring some back.
Yeah.
But it's not going to all of a sudden bring...
And that's where you have to hook it, though, from a league standpoint, from an observing standpoint, is the people who come back. How are you going to hook them into it again? Like I said, and it's possible because this finals got me almost like a little excited again, right? I watched this finals and I was like, ooh, maybe I should install Overwatch again. Maybe I should play again.
Yeah,
and then
it'll be like, Tim, let's go play Valorant after this and you'll forget.
Yeah, then exactly what happened. But they do. They just have to retain. You can't, if you're going in with this big ego of, well, we're Overwatch League and we charge people 20 million plus to get in here and we know what we're doing, so don't worry about it. You've already failed. Like, you have to be self-aware that this year didn't go great. It's not going great to the outsider's perspective. You have to figure out who your target market is and how you want to retain them, and build up from there.
Tim, I have a question. Actually, I have a statement.
Please ask. Please say.
Can I tell you what would save or bring back Overwatch back to life? Like right now, it's on a breathing tube. They're hanging in there, but it's a little tough, right? I can tell you how to get them running next week. Like straight into the gym, running a couple miles, 4 or 5 minutes.
Donald Trump, COVID.
Donald Trump COVID fix. Like that's how quick this is gonna be. A little bit of Clorox on top of it, and we're good to go. Make Overwatch free to play going forward. Overwatch 2, free to play going forward when it comes out, and add an Apex style BR where you're required to have like 2 to 3 people on a team, right? Don't make it solo queue because the way the players work is some people would be really shitty on their own in the sense of can't have like
if you were like Roadhog
support player like solo. Yeah. But like make like some sort of stupid BR mode. I know BR kills you to hear that inside.
It does.
Go free to play, make a team-based BR game out of this to go along with Overwatch, right? I promise you that game will be alive in a heartbeat because it has the ability to drive enough people back to play the multiplayer, especially if it's Overwatch 2. Free to play, millions would go back to try it out at the very least, and maybe you retain a percentage of those players that are coming back plus the ones that are
Right,
already
right.
there. And then the BR is going to attract your streamer audience, right? To broadcast it out because streamers will go play it, regardless if it's called Overwatch or not. They will go play it and try it. And now you're popular on Twitch for a X number of week period until it gets old or if it sucks in that way. But you'll have brought in like another whole grouping of players. And for Blizzard, you got to sit there and think, how do we make money? Skin the shit out of the game, right? Make
Which
a
they
lot of
already
skins.
do. I mean,
You already have them.
yeah.
Like you already have the system. Find a way to make it more profitable and make your money that way. But if you're gonna come out here and charge like $60 for Overwatch 2, like it's another just a kiss of death. Like if
Yeah.
it's the same game
I
and
don't-
you're just charging me $60,
I
or
can't
whatever it
imagine
is,
they charge it considering they've openly admitted like it's really just adding single player missions to it. Like the multiplayer, if you own Overwatch, you're still going to be able to play. It's just you're just missing out on like single player missions and some things like that.
single player is like a one-time. That's why
And
the
maybe they
BR
do.
thing comes to mind.
Maybe when Overwatch 2 comes out, they say, "Hey, free to play multiplayer. Like you can play, PvP for free." Which honestly, how mind-blowing is it that it's not free yet?
Who's buying the
Mind-blowing.
game? Who is buying the game right now? I want to know how many sales they're making monthly at this point. Like how many new sales are they making of that game? Probably not much.
Everyone
like,
buying their alt accounts, I guess, at this point, because
cheaters.
like there's no way like you have a fresh new batch of players coming in enough to justify it. So either way, like I said, I'm still in the camp that I believe that it can be as exciting as it was for the first 2 seasons. I do think COVID kind of killed a little bit of it for me just because the league handled it so poorly compared to others. And so we'll see.
Do you think it can get back to 500,000 views next year, US based?
Yeah, I do. I believe in it. Like I said, I don't know. The only
You're
thing
loyal,
that
Tim.
well, again,
Good,
though,
it's good. I like that trait about you.
there's
You're
so
loyal.
there's so many factors into me and viewership numbers, right? There's so much factors into it where the fluff factors of last year we had 2 NA teams in the finals, right? So that's number one. It was on Twitch, which is obviously
Is that a plus though? You think having 2 NA teams versus 1 Asia and 1 NA team?
for NA viewership numbers on Twitch or YouTube, definitely. Now, Korean viewership numbers might be a different story, right? But NA viewers, absolutely. And then you had the fact that it was like, at sunrise our time. You have the factor that it was on YouTube and on Twitch, it's a lot easier to window shop the streams and kind of plug it into places. You also have YouTube where it was easier to advertise drops, which, as dumb as it sounds, I think people love free drops. Even if you don't even play the game, you just see, whoa, I could win stuff. You're saying I could win credits for a game I don't even play? Yeah, sure, I'll watch it. Why not? So as silly as all that sounds, it does protect. Now, does it equal to 300,000 more? I don't know, right? But I do think it can. I think next year, if you build, again, it's all with the stories. It's all about those storylines where you can get the casual fans back in that, are familiar with Overwatch. Now, you're going to have those people, even in esports scene. Like, you have some of these people out there, I won't name names, that just hate the game for personal, whatever reasons. They want to see it fail. No matter what they tell you, they want to see it fail. You're going to have those people that will never admit to it. You're going to have those people that just say, oh, it's just too difficult to watch. I don't understand it. But you know what I do love? League of Legends, because that's so easy to watch and understand. So I don't buy that crap either when people are like, oh, I just don't get Overwatch. It's too chaotic. But League of Legends, so easy to follow. So
when there's a 5v5 team fight on top of a Baron.
Right.
Like,
and they're buying items and buying back, and like, I don't know what the hell's going on with that. So I do think it's possible. Will it be as fast as next year? We'll see. If they're smart, as we've always, Blizzard, you have an open invitation. You have our phone number, you have our email. Slide into those DMs. We'll fix your shit. We'll fix it. You want 500,000 viewers again? You call Anuj and me. We'll fix it. We know what we got to do.
Need a lot of work.
Wait.
But we got to get to it. We got to get to work. That's the thing. No, yeah. I mean, look, we'll see. I don't think I have nearly as much faith than you do as like the return, but partially because the storylines that you're talking about, you need players to build those storylines around. And unfortunately, between the final stage and like playoffs, we've had most of the big names from all of these teams kind of swap over to Valorant. So you got to build stars again, is what you need to do, and you need to find a way to have these stars, be in the eye of people and help kind of rebrand a little bit, right? Because you've lost a lot of top tier talent. And look, you'll be doing it with Striker, you'll be doing it with Super, all these guys on Shock, right? But you need to do it kind of throughout the league. You've lost a lot of big names who those stories would generally be around.
Yeah. No, like I said, we'll see. We'll see. We have some time, and who knows if they even start on time with COVID or anything like that. But either way, for now, the Shock can celebrate back to back. Will Sinatra get a ring? Only time will tell. I think he will. I think Andy Miller seems like the kind of guy that will still give it. Even though he did,
I don't know how he left. Like he left like real quick, man. I don't know.
Like realistically played like 2 months and maybe even less because COVID had a delay in there too. So yeah. I think by the books, you should probably have to at least play half the year.
The ownership energy is cool, so they'll probably hook him up, but I'm not that cool.
No, I don't think I am.
I don't know if I would have, but those are some good guys over there, so I'm sure they'll take care of it.
Yeah. Either way, congratulations to the Shock and everyone over there for getting a second back-to-back. Let that be known, though. The TCR curse, no one will win 3 in a row.
Yeah, nobody.
They do have the TCR curse because of Hex being associated with them. Good luck winning that third ship with the TCR curse on you.
Yeah, fun with your 2.
Yeah, you might get 1 or 2 in there. Not a third. The third doesn't squeak by us. No. That TCR curse is alive and well with your third run there, Shock, so enjoy it while it lasts. IEM Masters New York for EU finished and wrapped up. It was much shorter than NA because it's like half the teams in there, so they were able to finish up this weekend as NA is still just in group stage, I believe. So we'll talk about them next time. But EU ended up wrapping up just a little bit ago today. In the finals, you did have FaZe versus OG. FaZe ended up taking it with a clean sweep of 3-0. FaZe up, Anuj.
As we say, FaZe is always winning, baby.
FaZe up.
FaZe is they're always in the driver's seat. No, this was a good win because FaZe it had to beat some good. I know we didn't have Astralis, we didn't have Na'Vi in this event. We were missing a couple of big names, but you still had Vitality. You had number 1 in the world, Heroic, who's earned that spot, right? I felt like Big had played really well, but I never looked at Big as like a super dominant team. Heroic, I wouldn't say is super dominant, but they have been playing really.
They are number 1 in the world on HLTV.
Yeah, and they won't be after this week probably. But yeah, I thought this was a really good event for FaZe. And I just written them off like probably 2 weeks ago or a week ago when you and I were talking.
This is what FaZe does.
This is what they do. This is what they do.
Then next time they'll lose the next 4 events to some scrub teams in group stage or something like that. This is what FaZe does.
Look, so I flip-flopped on this so many times because initially when they were picking up K or B and we did do we think this will elevate FaZe to like championship level status, right? Or whatever the question, I forgot the exact question, but I said yes. Like I do think this puts them.
And I said no.
You said no. Then you kind of watch a couple of events and it was like, oh Jesus, like this is a shit show. Like this team is nowhere close to being ready to compete at the highest level. And then all of a sudden, here we go. They 3-0 OG. They 2-0'd Vitality. They played Heroic, I believe, twice in this event. They did drop 1 best of 3 to OG earlier in the event. And so they got their revenge definitely in the finals. But like they looked really good, and like Nico was on point. Nico was Nico. KRB showed up in the finals. And it was funny because him and MBK were literally live tweeting in between games, talking shit to one another. That was like awesome to see on Twitter. If you didn't see it, just go kind of read through those threads. But they were tweeting back and forth throughout the finals. But look, this phase roster showed a little something this weekend, right? Like they showed the ability to be able to do it, which I think a lot of people had just started to doubt, including myself at this point. They hadn't found any sort of consistency throughout an event. They would win a random match against a good team and then drop like the next two or three. Could not find consistency. This event was very different.
Let me tell you how much this meant to FaZe. And I believe they were actually one of the teams we highlighted last episode when we said on EU side, there's a handful of teams that have to perform well this event, just given the teams that are there. I believe FaZe and G2 were number 1 and 2 on that list. G2 did not perform well. We'll get to them in a second, though. Now, FaZe, they did lose to OG, the other OG. They lost to OG in the groups 2-0. So then they meet back up in the grand finals, beat them 3-0. This is how much this win meant to FaZe. Map 2, Inferno. FaZe was up 15-5. 15-5. Okay? That's a lot of rounds they could give up before they really got to start sweating. Do you think they went balls to the wall that 16th round to get that win? As normal people would do, right? OG was kind of on like a little broken economy buy. They were just buying whatever they could because they knew they had to. Normal people would go balls to the wall to get that win. FaZe, Anuj, they were holding corners like their life depended on it. Like, it was like if it were 14-15, like Boston Major all over again. FaZe was not taking any chances on Inferno when they were up 15-5. And that kind of opened my eyes for this team and said, okay, they know. They know what everyone is saying about them. They are aware that they are underperforming. They are aware that they suck, and they shouldn't, right? They're aware of it, and they're saying, no one move. We are getting this win. If it's my beef when like people, and even in pugs, when they try to go for a knife kill and then all of a sudden they get turned around and shot on. And I'm like, was the knife kill worth it? You probably should have shot him. Like at this point, FaZe was like, no knife kills. Like, we are in winner mode.
Yeah, you're right. They buckled down. I mean, right? You had Nico and Brokey kind of leading the charge for them. Brokey is like the name that unfortunately we don't hear enough because of how big the names are there. But he was, if not the best, at least second best player on the team throughout this event, especially, rating wise, he was up there consistently. But yeah, they found their groove, and they have to know the pressure at this point, right? It's been a long time. This has not been like a short stint. In fact, like I wonder what this does to some of the rumors that were swirling out there about Nico possibly getting bought out by G2. I know Cold Zera's mom, reporting from Dust to Us, Cold Zera's mom tweeted at Nico.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Yeah, Cold Zera's mom tweeted at Nico saying you should reconsider or rethink some of your recent decisions. So, it's like you kind of wonder if it does, right? Like, because if I'm Nico, yeah, it'd be cool to go play with my cousin in G2, but like this FaZe team was built around you, right? Like you go on to do a new team that's already ranked in the top 10 or at least consistently kind of been up there, right, with G2. You got Kenny S on that team. Like you're walking in as the new guy because you also have not won anything recently outside of this event, right, for Nico. Right now you're on the biggest org in the sense of just popularity.
Yeah.
You're got a roster that's built around you, except for the fact that they didn't really build it properly, but they did it around you with you in mind in the sense of let's add Cold and KRB and Brokey and these guys. I would give this a go right now. Like I wonder what that does to all those rumors that were going on out there. I don't know how true they were. But I'm sure there's some truth to it. And it doesn't really get brought up usually unless otherwise. So yeah, I kind of wonder what's going on in that camp right now.
And you got to think from Hiko's perspective is what happened the last time he left a team with Mouse Sports. it's almost like they were better without him, right?
They're a lot better without him.
Like I mean, right now, yeah, sure, say what you want about Mouse Sports, but when Nico left Mouse Sports, I remember even talking on this show, I was like, rip Mouse Sports. It's been nice knowing you because you're going to be irrelevant now. And in fact, they were better right after he left and really didn't miss
And
anything.
they've still been better even
Yeah.
up till now, right? Like they weren't winning with Nico.
Right.
Nico was just really good on a bad team, you know.
So you got to think from that angle when Nico is. Think about when he was on Mouse Sports and he left to now with FaZe. Do you stand a better chance with the FaZe roster now, or do you stand a better chance with the G2 roster if you replace any of them for yourself? I don't see how he could look at that and say, yes, this is a smart move for me. Unless he's just at a stage in life where he's like, look, I want to go play with family and deal with it. If that's the case, then, I mean, family's the trump card, right? Family's going to win and you can't really say shit about it. But if it's looking from a champion standpoint at where he stands best to win, I don't see anyone on G2's roster that you could replace for Nico and say, this is better than FaZe.
Yeah, I mean, well, like G2 has performed better than FaZe, and that's part of the problem in the sense that like FaZe is just underperformed for what we think they should be doing, right? Like what we expect out of them. I feel like they got to find a way to make it click consistently. Like there's just too much talent, and I know the analysts will tell you otherwise, and then there's a lot to what they're saying. I understand that with saying they don't have the right type of team makeup. They have the names, but the makeup just doesn't work. But I feel like if players are that good, people can adjust to roles that are needed for this team. Like an
They're all
elite player,
Counter-Strike players.
like an elite player, if he has to drop a notch to take a different role, like they shouldn't be falling as far as they have, right? Like they go
Yeah.
from being one of the best in the world to like outside of the top 20. Shouldn't be that kind of a drop. And so hopefully with the Yanko there, that's also been an experiment that just hasn't worked out. So you kind of are like, I mean, I root for him because I like him as an individual. I still think that this shows me there's a way for them to do it, right? Like they did it finally. And so hopefully that belief carries over and we see them stick it out.
And on the flip side here, we did have G2 go 0-2 and get bounced out pretty early on. They got last place in their group, losing to Complexity 2-0 of all teams, and then Fnatic 2-0. So they didn't even pick up a win, a map win, all event. G2 will do G2 things. I feel like they're almost like FaZe in that sense, where they can fall victim to themselves from time to time. I'd be interested to see what the HLTV rankings are after this event, because right now FaZe is 17th and G2 is 9th, I believe. So
like G2 was like 5th or 6th like the week before, so like G2's already kind of dropped a little bit here recently. Definitely going to close the gap, right?
Yeah.
Like FaZe is going to jump a lot after an IEM win. Like this is a big tournament, a lot of points tied to it. So FaZe is going to jump high, but for G2, yeah, I agree. Like not a great showing, obviously. You don't want to lose to Complexity when they're playing with a sub in essentially, right? But like NATO Sphinx is not a bad player. He's played at the highest level before, and they still have 4 very capable players. So not the most embarrassing loss either, I guess I'm saying. And that's also a tough group, right? If you look at it before the finals. Right now, we've seen both the finalists come from the other group, but like prior to the tournament starting, yeah, you were looking Vitality, Fnatic, Complexity, G2. Like it looks like a pretty stacked side, right? And so for G2, yeah, they may still be looking to make a change, and maybe ultimately that is the case. I just kind of hope it's not Nico, because now I want to see where this FaZe squad can go from here.
Yeah, I will say I'm not a believer in G2. I just want
to.
I want to get that out there. No, I'm not a believer in either. I think both of them stink. I think they're good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see any of them progressing in a tournament that has, like, if we're looking at a major level tournament, I don't see any of them progressing to a point where I would consider them winning.
So can I take you to the flip side on what I'm thinking here? I think anybody in the top 15 in Counter Strike can win a tournament at any given event. Truly believe that right now. I do not think there's a clear cut number one. I think there's teams that are better than other teams within the top
Yeah.
15, right? Like I can move them around and rank them however you wanted me to. I think you can make a case for a lot of them to be in certain positions. But I do truly believe anybody in the top 15, if we had a major right now and you just pull the top 15 teams, and let's include FaZe in that mix because they'll be above 15 after this week here, any of them really could come out like a major winner. I really believe that. Like Astralis, I would probably sit at the top just because of history. History tells you to bet on Astralis, but I also don't know what kind of Zipniks they're getting back. I don't know how this roster is gonna look after coming off of a win and now changing it up a little bit. Like I don't know what they're going through internally. If those tweets meant something more than they really did, like I don't know. But money tells me like, hey, Astralis is going to be really good. They're probably a
Yeah.
safe bet, but that's why you would bet on them. It's because they're safe. Anybody in the top 15 right now is very capable of winning in Counter Strike. And look, as a fan, there's good and bad to that. I want a villain. I want a superhero. I do kind of like that. That's always how it's been with SK. Obviously MIBR, SK, Luminosity, whatever, Fnatic, NIP. There's always been that one top dog, and then there's teams trying to scratch at them, right? Like the Cloud Nines always trying to break through the MIBR. You kind of root for those underdogs in those situations. We might not have that right now, but what you're getting is a very open field and still very good Counter-Strike. It doesn't mean the Counter-Strike is necessarily bad. It's just competition's pretty stiff. It almost looks like Division 1 basketball a little bit, where there's like 10 to 15 teams almost in a given year that either look like they could win it all, but there's not usually that clear-cut number one like Kentucky was for a handful of years there. Duke has been before, like it feels pretty open right now in CS. So, I'm still going to have faith in FaZe. Wouldn't throw my money on them. I'm not telling y'all to bet the house on them, but I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of continue down this path and start to look better moving forward.
Yeah. I could see them looking better. Like I said, if history is doomed to repeat itself, we're looking at them losing in embarrassing fashion the next 3 or 4 events and us questioning everything that we just talked about tonight. So
Hey, look, if that happens, dude, I'll be right back on that bandwagon with you saying, legit, this team needs to blow it up. Nico needs to go play with his cousin. But for this weekend, they're champions of a big event.
congratulations.
It means
GG's,
something.
GG's around. GG's around.
Yeah, another trophy to add to the case, and let's just see if they can build off of it. Be a fun story to follow going forward, at least.
And one last note here. We were going to mention in E-News, but I figure we can bring it up now, just given the teams and everything in this event, is with Complexity. As we said, with NATO, Complexity is playing with a sub, and from all intents and purposes, he is just a sub, because it has now been rumored, and I think all but confirmed, that they are going to sign for their 5th spot, JKS from 100 Thieves.
Big signing.
I will be the first to admit that I laughed at them when Jason Blake tweeted his tweet saying that, hey,
Did you say Jason Blake?
yeah, I did. Jason Lake tweet out saying how, like, look, my team sucks. If you want to be the best, you come call me. And we laughed and we said, oh, that's funny. Your Complexity. Like, that's just not how it works with you. But sure enough, even when you do lose the next young up-and-coming talent, JKS, I think, is a solid signing for them.
Then in Cloud9, it's rumored Cloud9 was bidding on them also. And we know Cloud9 has money to spend. They're showing it, right? We know exactly what they are spending. So we know they got the funds, and we know they're willing to spend. And so this had to have been an expensive signing, but I think it's a fantastic pickup. JKS has proven himself, like he's a proven player at this point. He's been the top player on a top 5 team for, top 10 team, I guess, most of their time, but a couple times in the top 5. He's proven himself, and I think that's a fantastic pickup. He's a young talent. He's been playing competitive 1CS competitive tier 1 CS for a long time now. So it's not like you might have to go through some of those learning experiences like you had to go through with OBO and Poison and some of these guys, right? Like he can step in and they can probably move forward pretty quickly. I think it is upsetting for Cloud9 fans that this move happened because I'm sure they would have loved to have JKS. Like I said, like look at the roster differences right now. Like there's still work to be done to prove to us that this Cloud9 roster is going to be successful, right? And Jason Lake just pulled a really big potential piece of that away, which I think would have helped solidify the Cloud9 roster. If you told me their roster of 5 and you added JKS to that, I'd be like, okay, got a couple of young guys, but we got, Alex, we got Waxic, we got JKS, like 3 proven high-level players with a couple of young guns around them. Like that looks like complexity almost to a certain extent, right? And now for complexity to sit in there and get them like huge signing for them. This also kind of confirms a theory that you and I had a couple weeks ago about one of the teams potentially leaving CS, and we listed off.
This is it. This is the writing on the wall. 100 Thieves is out on Counter-Strike. This is setting it up so they can go buy that CDL spot.
And look, it's funny because like now Jacquem is also coming up on his contract has expired. So he's fielding offers. It's been reported that he has already received several offers. He's probably not going to re-sign with 100 Thieves would be my guess. So if you're losing, him along with JKS, you're going to have a tough time finding 2 other players in NA to make that work out.
Because you have to remember, 100 Thieves bought this roster straight out. They didn't build it. Like, they didn't go hunting for players. They just bought an entire roster in themselves. I don't know if they even have the wherewithal or even, the drive to really look for players to rebuild their Counter-Strike team. I think they're just looking at it as a way, hey, maybe it's just good timing from us to dip out. Our buddy Hex is just so happened to have this extra CDL slot just lying around. Oh, nothing he can do with it. So maybe we can just buy that from him on the cheap and get back into Call of Duty.
And it makes so much more sense for 100 Thieves to be involved in Call of Duty than Counter-Strike. It's not that they don't belong in Counter-Strike. I would love to have them in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
I think the brand is great.
But the fan base is in COD. That's just where they're at. That's where their heart is at.
Nadeshot is the owner. Like, what more do you need to say?
This is the first time Nadeshot ever talked to JKS was to call him to say that they're moving him to Complexity. That's the first time Nadeshot ever called him to talk to him. Like, he probably had to ask for JKS's phone number just to call him to tell him he's being
I
sold.
hope that's the plan ultimately. Like, again, they've denied that that's going down. They haven't mentioned anything about cutting this roster, but look, Tim and I are reading some tea leaves here, okay? And this is just what we see happening. They're going to lose 2/5 of their roster. Easy way to dip out because you're not going to go find 2 other star type NA players to fill in. And CDL's looking pretty tasty right now, right? Warzone numbers are at an all-time high. The franchising went fairly smooth, right? Hiccups, of course, but fairly smooth overall. Seems like the better investment.
And Call of Duty, unlike Overwatch, is not going anywhere. Like, it's just there. If the scene for Call of Duty can power through Modern Warfare, it can power through any game, right? There won't be a Call of Duty that is just so astronomically terrible that everyone's just like, I am done with Call of Duty.
And look, Tim, ultimately with Call of Duty, it's a lot easier to build a championship style roster. They might not win it, but like compared to Counter-Strike, you don't have that kind of turnover. Like with Counter-Strike, for them to go try and find 2 guys to make them competitive and be considered a contender to win it all, right? If there was one ultimate tournament happening, we don't have the major, but something similar along those lines, right? That's a lot harder to do in Counter-Strike. A lot harder to do.
Yeah.
In Call of Duty, you have roster
wait a couple
from
months
year to year. Either wait a couple months or just wait till if it's not your year, it's not your year. 100 Thieves won a championship. What? Just 2 years ago. with Octane and Slasher and all these guys in Call of Duty. So they've tasted success there. Makes some sense for the brand. I think that would be my move. Again, hey, 100 Thieves, hit up the 101 Burglars Twitter. I'm sure they follow each other. Let's open up some DMs. We'll help you all along with Blizzard at the same time.
Yeah, we'll become official business advisors here. So we'll see. Keep an eye out for that, though. But I mean, like I said, I don't see any other way that that happening with 100 Thieves and everything staying in Counter-Strike. Let's get into some e-news to wrap up the show. In Counter-Strike, one last note that Flashpoint has announced some of their invited teams for Season 2. We have Godsent, North, and Forza.
Cool beans.
There you go. Good to see people still looking out for North. In Valorant, NRG signs Kohler. And
It's a good signing.
yeah,
He's coming from Immortals.
Yeah.
They just lost Asuna and Dicey X to 100 Thieves here recently. So this is a good signing. That's a good little fit there for him.
the Pittsburgh Knights Boomer Invitational was this weekend. So if you watched it, it was, entertaining for what it was. In retrospect, I wish we would have done it just to say we did it. But at the end of the day, I see your point on why it would have been a waste of time. Look, this was not just some boom. This is when I said not all boomers are created equal. This is what we were talking about. As the winning team consisted of Hiko, Sean Garris, Nothing, Steel, and Carbon Main.
We would have got 13
Okay.
We wouldn't have gotten around on a team like that, So
No, like I said, I wish we would have done it for to say we did it. But
I would have loved to play against them, but I would have hated to see that score line at the end.
But yeah, this is convincing the wife to give us an entire weekend to play this, and then all of a sudden they're like, "So how'd you do, sweetie?" We did okay. We did okay. Just don't turn on the stream, please. In other FPS news, Envy is most likely, they teased this, so that's going to be tomorrow. So by the time you're listening, maybe the announcement is already out there to release, or I guess announce, I should say, a new Halo roster.
It's happening, man. Like this is gonna be stuff to talk about soon. We've got a couple of full rosters with Cloud9 and Sentinels. Recently
big
releasing their
orgs
rosters.
getting involved. I'm excited, and like I said, maybe there is a league behind the scenes getting formed for Halo. I don't see what's wrong with that, right? Like people are like, oh, so all these teams signing, I bet you there's a league. More power to Halo if that's what they need to get started up again.
The game's coming out in like a few months. We're not talking about a year away.
They're still technically not a release.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
It's coming out sometime soon, right? We're not talking about a year and a half delay and we're like, well, what are they going to do with it? Like we're a couple months out.
And again, it's Halo, right? Like people are acting like this is some new Amazon IP they're playing here. It's Halo. It's been around. You got to remember, Halo 5 was made like 7 years ago. So don't be like, well, Halo's dead. Well, yeah, it is, but it's also 7 years old. Like,
it's going to be super popular regardless of how good it is when it comes out.
Exactly.
Right?
You got to get out there.
We're not talking about, this is not a 2-year roster signing that these guys are doing, right? They're going to bring them in. If it goes well, they'll continue on. If it doesn't, they'll move on, right? But for now, we know it's going to be really big when it comes out. Like there's no doubt about it. You can't deny it.
And they want to be invited to those early
Halo,
tournaments.
Hater or not, yes. If you're there and you're in it early, look at the advantages that some of these teams have had in Valorant, right? Yeah. Like they're in all of these events. Their brand is broadcasted everywhere. It's a good investment because you're probably also not paying a couple $1 million for these rosters right now on annual revenue. So I think it's a hugely smart move, and I'm excited to see Envy's roster. Could we see the first two-way player, Tim, in Shotzi?
Now, Anuj, I did reach out to our official sources deep within the walls of Envy Gaming. And our Envy Halo Deep Throat informant I asked. I said, hey, let's just be real. Is this a sign that you guys are going to bring back Clayster for COD and then move Shotzi over to Halo? And all they responded with was a long list of LOLs. Missing from that text was a denial. So
it's confirmed per sources.
It's not been denied that Shotzi will be playing for their Halo roster.
That would have been such a sick move if it was like Shotzi's going to Halo and Clayster is coming back to Dallas. That would have been badass.
I wonder if Shotzi would have been cool. I mean, Shotzi's a former Halo World Champion. That's what he started in. So I wonder if he would have been cool with it. A part of me says he probably would have been.
If he hasn't seen the new product, I don't know if he would have been.
Oh, okay,
You know,
yeah.
like, it's a little nerve-wracking to make that kind of
Like,
change
hey,
when
we
you
just kind of was
he
like
just
MVP.
got 250K deposited into his bank account like a week ago. It would be probably a hard sell
I'm
to be
MVP
like, hey,
over
do
here,
you mind
guys.
scooting over?
It is funny though, because I looked back and I posted the clip of it on our Twitter at the Center Ring, our interview with Shotzi, and you did say, fast forward, let's pretend that you guys won the championship and you're MVP. You probably have more clout to go play Halo. And sure enough, he was MVP and they did win the championship. So if what is true, he does have the clout to say, I want to go play Halo at the same time. Look, it's got me more excited. It's just building up that Halo hype train. It's got me excited to play it. In a little bit of updates here, I have... Oh, this kind of is upsetting. Somehow, it was already BS that they figured out to make Worlds a LAN event in all places China, where Corona, as we're told, started. The China virus, as Trump likes to call it. I don't agree with Trump in like 99% of things, but his angst towards China, I think, is fueled because they're doing this in China, and he's upset that Worlds is somehow figuring out how to make LAN events happen for them in China.
With fans.
With fans, as they're saying an expected amount of 6,300 fans will be in attendance for Worlds, the finals.
That's badass.
I don't get it. I don't get how they can do it. And yet everywhere else in the world outside of New Zealand just can't figure out how to get more than 10 people in a room without getting corona. But I'm happy. I mean, it's good. It means we're turning around. I'll take anything.
And aren't they making it free for those fans?
I believe I saw that. Yeah, like a free seating available. Maybe the catch is, hey, it's free, but you might get corona.
That's the waiver you have to sign.
Hey, you can get in here for free. However, you could get corona and
You
die.
might die.
But it's a free ticket to Worlds. So, yeah, is it worth it? Is it worth
I'm
it?
in.
I think I would. Yeah, I'd go. Why not? I'm about to go to a NASCAR race in a couple of weeks for corona. So, hey, I'll go to Worlds. Looking
You're
at the
going to
teams.
a NASCAR race in a couple weeks?
Yeah, it's a Texas Motor Speedway. I think me and
You are 100% gonna get corona.
I think Donut and me are going. I'll just
that crowd.
I'll find the furthest away seat. It's a 200,000 seat arena. I should be
Based
safe.
on what I've seen from NASCAR this year and in the news, Tim, a lot of people are gonna
They're
be
not-
like anti-maskers
Not
running
the
around
face
over
mask
there,
wearing crowd. I can tell you that.
throwing nooses around at people and just coughing on people at the same time.
I am
That's
not.
gonna-
I am not one with the NASCAR fan. I just like NASCAR. So
You are on my quarantine list for 2 weeks after you attend that event. Just so
we'll
you
see.
know.
We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe we won't go. I don't have tickets yet, but that was the plan. Anyways, back to Worlds. Groups did wrap up as NA had a abysmal outing, as no NA team makes it out of groups. You had Liquid going 3-3. I'm sorry. Yeah, Liquid going 3-3. TSM 0-6. Yikes. FlyQuest 3-3. Not a good outing.
Yeah, I mean, for FlyQuest and Liquid, they didn't play horrible, right? Like they obviously went 50-50 here, 500 overall, and it's some tough groupings that they were in. You know, Liquid having to make it out of the play-in stage just to be in that spot. But for TSM, I mean, that's our number one ranked team coming out of NA, and for them to go 0-6, like that's, you know, it's got to feel unacceptable internally. You know, like they're going to have to. This forces you to make changes, right? Even if you believed in this roster going in, to come out of here 0-6. I mean, that shows like, I mean, I call it what you want. It's just there's a lack of something there, right? Like something was missing, and you weren't even close to being competitive, regardless of the group that you were thrown into. And so, yeah, and he's got some work to do, man. They're behind, and it seems like it's that case a lot of the time with some of these esports, right? Like Counter-Strike, especially, like we're a little bit behind here, and so you hope they build off of this, and get somebody into the playoffs next year, because this is a little depressing.
So playoffs do start on the 15th. Gen G, G2, that looks like a good early round. You got Top Esports versus Fnatic. That one I'm sure will be entertaining. I know we have a lot of Fnatic fans in our Discord, and Top
Probably
Esports
sweating some bullets right now with that matchup.
Yeah, Top Esports being the number one. That was supposed to be pretty good from what I'm told. So playoffs, though, will kick off here in a couple of days. I will get in on if they play on Saturday. What is Saturday? The 17th? Saturday, Sunday? Oh, that's Top Esports and Fnatic. I might be in Discord for a watching
What time
party.
is that at?
5 CDT Central. Oh, okay. They automatically switch it for us. That's nice. Ooh, 5 o'clock in the morning.
On the 17th?
We might do a replay. Watching party. We'll see.
I will be in Discord as well for the replay showing of that.
We'll see. No promises. And in other MOBA news, Dota, the TI, they're I believe it's closed. I think you can no longer contribute to the prize pool. It hit $40 million.
Bro.
For a game that I literally hear nothing about, apart from the TI nowadays. Dota used to be like, I remember when people actually talked like, oh, is League of Legends or Dota more popular? People had that conversation at one point in time.
Not anymore.
But they can still pull in $40 million for the TI.
Do you think Valve like dumps in like 20 mil? And just
I mean, I know they only kick it off with like what, $1 million, right? They kick it off with $1 million. And
yeah,
then
but
the
I'm
rest
saying like
goes?
Gaben's over there. Like I could see Gaben doing this for Dota.
Do you think
right?
this is a
like,
whole?
He's at home and he's set up like 5,000 free accounts, and he is just sitting there smashing that buy button.
It's the age-old Dallas Mavericks sellout record, right? For the longest streak in sellouts, and it was just Mark Cuban giving away tickets for free for the longest time.
Like 40 million, dude. That is insane. That is, I mean, a staggering number. I got to know what first place gets here, but they only got to win this one event, and you're set. Like you're set, dude, and that is crazy to me. But look, good on the fans for Dota to be able to push it this high, regardless if y'all are the second best MOBA out there. You're winning in terms of prize pool money. Like this puts you on the map every single year. And so if you guys continue to do that, your game will never die. Like it really will not, because at least once a year you have everybody's attention. $40 million, you're damn right. I'm watching the finals. I will wake up at 5 a.m. to watch that finals, because I'll be sweating knowing that money's on the line. Like I'm going to be sitting here sweating knowing that the winning team is probably going to get $20+ million. Like I can't even, as somebody that's followed esports for a long time, to see a $40 million prize pool for one event. Jeez Louise, dude. Like can't even fathom it.
I mean, that's more money than most big esports have total, like forever.
Counter-Strike has an event every single weekend. You could add all of that up and it is not $40 million.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. In Battle Royale, Team Liquid ended up winning the DreamHack Champions for PUBG. So, congratulations.
Can I tell you, I watched a few minutes of that.
Did you really?
I did. I watched a few minutes of it, and they do a really good job now of like how the spectator cam works. Like nades have like a hockey puck trail kind of behind it, and like it looked a lot better, but the game still looked like it was playing like shit even for these pros. but visually it was a little bit easier to watch. I literally watched maybe 10 minutes of it. But yeah, good on them. Congrats, Liquid. You did it. At least NA is winning
Look,
somewhere.
esports. This is a shout out. This is addressed to all of esports out here. Do not bitch and moan that it's too hard to pull profits and orgs lose money in esports, blah, 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 while you are paying someone to play PUBG. Do not tell me, do not give me this woe is me, we can't make money when you are paying people to play PUBG. Okay? That's your number one problem. You cut that off your list and you can save some money. Just my opinion. In other news, Asmongold, SFan, and Mizkif announce...
Tim, we met him in person. Please respect the name.
SFan? SFan?
Yes.
Are you sure it's SFan? I mean, you
Yeah.
would know more than me.
You just said it funny. It's fine. Either way, this is cool. So
He's
keep
your
going.
guildmate, not mine.
That is true.
Anyways, so they announced new OTK One True King streaming org.
Yeah, and like for people that don't know what that means, like they're gonna think of it as more of a true like network of streamers that they're going to have under their one brand, right? And like do like community events and all that.
These
through
are all
that.
WoW guys for people who don't know.
Yeah, but so they also said that I don't know if they said necessarily, but it's rumored that they will be getting into like WoW esports and having a team under their name and possibly branching out. They said it's not only going to be WoW related, so they're looking to hire content creators from all different types of platform or all different other games genres.
Like the number
and
one
things of that
esports
sort.
podcast.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we could definitely reach out. I mean, that's honestly the truth. You know, like you really could. Anybody out there, if you have any interest and you think you have a reason to be in that network, you can apply to them right now on their website. So this is cool. Like I like that they're taking control of the situation, right? Like they didn't like maybe what was being offered to them. I'm sure all of these guys have been offered huge opportunities with other organizations, you know, especially somebody like Asmon and Esfon to like.
Correct me
these
if I'm
guys
wrong.
are-
Esfon? Was he?
Esfon.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Esfon.
Yeah.
Now you got me questioning it. Method? Was he part?
I believe he was part of Method for a little bit towards the end, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. It might have been even before that, but yeah.
All right.
And Method's making a comeback too, just so you know.
Sure they are. Sure they are. And Riot Morello leaves Riot Games after 10 years to work on a new project. For those who don't know, he was also like one of the lead character designers for Valorant. So I'm very curious to see what his new project is, because to be leaving Valorant at this point in time, it's got to be something pretty awesome to want to leave.
Yeah, you would think so, or at least a passion project at the very least,
Yeah.
right? So it's something he either really wants to do or be a part of, or it's something huge that's coming out next. And so, yeah, and I don't know how big of a hit naturally this is going to be in the sense of, like, he did his job. You know, he came in here and he helped build a badass game. He's given us 10 plus characters, plus however many more have been in the works. And so, you know, if he thinks it's his time to move on, like, that's awesome. And I think he left Riot in like good hands with where he's put them with Valorant. So
Excellent. Yeah, like I said, I'm I just wanted to throw it in there in e-news just because it is interesting. Like he's got tied to
he's been there
Valorant.
since the start, pretty much. You know,
Yeah.
that's a big loss for them. But again, like, can't blame the guy. He's put in his time. Dude. 10
Yeah,
years
that's
with any
I'm more
company
excited to
is-
see there. I
Yeah.
did look at One True King's website. Props to them for having a better looking website after just starting than we have of like 3 years. So one day we'll have our website back up and it actually will look somewhat presentable.
be useful for y'all, hopefully. in
Yes,
some way.
be a website worthy of going to. But until then, you can always follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring and our Discord for anything else. All right, well, there you have it. Episode 279, it's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Whether you skipped around or listened to the whole darn thing, love you all the same. We will be back What's today? Sunday. We will be back Wednesday. Talk some more esports goodness. We'll have a little bit more New York, IEM New York, NA side. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Might have a big guest on a Wednesday, so keep your eyes and ears tuned in. We don't have them lined up yet, but it could happen like in the next couple days.
Yeah, you never know. You never know
People
how
are
things.
reaching out daily, you know.
You never know how things happen here. Always
Never know what junior college coach we might get on for you guys coming up next week.
So yeah, so just keep an eye out for that at the Center Ring on Twitter, and everything else you need to know is in our Discord. Be a part of the conversation there. If you listen on iTunes or anything, if you want to leave a review, we do read them, appreciate them. And yeah, that's it. I think.
Love you.
Love you.
That's it.
Love your face. See ya.